All right, hey, I am jumping in here. This is Future John. This is John from the future. After this show has already been recorded, and I have to come back and say this next call you're about to hear, I missed it. And here's what I missed. Okay, so you're going to listen to this call, and you're going to hear me, and you're going to be hollering at your phone or your speaker in your car or in your headphones when you're mowing the yard, whatever, however you consume the show. Or watching YouTube, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I know. Here's a couple of things. Number one, I'm pretty sure after listening to this call that this man's wife is a significant challenge. It's a problem, okay? Also, I try my best. I'm not always perfect, but I try my best to not badmouth somebody's spouse when they're not on the phone. That's hard, right? The third thing is, most of the time when you're dealing with somebody who's got a spouse and the spouse is just out to lunch, the spouse is just spending money willy-nilly, the spouse is cheating on them, the spouse is struggling with addiction, whatever. You as the person on the phone, the person who's calling and saying, how can I help my spouse? How can I fix this? I'm lonely. How do I do these things? You can't do anything about the spouse. The only person you can change is you. And so you're going to notice in this call, I don't think I messed this part up. I intentionally focused on this guy. What can you do? Why is your wife creating a world that you don't exist in? I think the reality is she's always had that life. She's always spent money. She's always run up debt. She's always created alternative life that she is living that this guy is funding. But that's not always helpful for me to just grenade on somebody. So you're going to hear this call and you're going to be going, what do you mean it's completely her? I'm with you. I'm with you. And I really want those of us, folks who listen to this show, who are struggling with a spouse, struggling with a friend, struggling with a mother-in-law, struggling with whoever, to go back to the one place where transformation happens, and that's in the mirror. That's with you. Asking yourself, what are my thoughts? What are my actions? And what can I control here? So check out the call. Be nice in the YouTube comments. Be nice. Here we go. What's up, Tom?
Hey, how you doing, John?
I was doing great until Jenna started talking about the Swift shows, but I think you're going to get us back on track, man.
Well, I know you deal with life and death stuff and heavy marriage hanging on by a thread stuff, and I feel a little bit silly for this call, but...
No way, dude.
Yeah, so here's what's going on. I travel a lot for work, about 4 days every other week, and my wife loves to travel for fun. And this month especially, she's gone a lot. And I'm not included on those trips. It's girls, and it's this, and it's that. And I'm feeling a little bit excluded. And the other part of that is when I bring up, like, hey, most of my travel is an hour or two flight from our house. And I say, hey, why don't you come out for a night? Or, take Friday off, we'll spend the weekend there, or whatever, wherever I am. And it's quickly dismissed. And it's like, hey, I need more time to plan and this and that. And if she wanted to do it, there would be a plan B. Like if one of her friends calls and says, hey, let's go here for the weekend, she'll find a way to make it work. And so I'm calling you, and thanks for taking my call, because I feel like I'm getting wound up in my head, and I don't want to be resentful. I want her to enjoy the trips. I love her because she loves to live her life and have fun. And there's also a little bit of a backstory, if you don't mind. When we got married, we had a lot of debt, and her debt was travel debt, and we did FPU and we paid it off, and we've been debt free ever since. A year and a half ago, I was refinancing our house, shortening the term and lowering the rate. And she had hidden a bunch of debt as well. And so we downloaded the Every Dollar app and paid that off ahead of schedule.
Did y'all deal with the infidelity?
A little bit.
So no?
Not really.
Not really.
And
Not really.
And the other, and we're both men here. The other trigger is I was a single dad. My kids spent every other weekend when I traveled with their mom. And I would constantly get emails from her like, hey, check out this cruise. It's on sale or this or that. And I would be trying to make ends meet. And, and so there's these little triggers along the way that when she's like, hey, I'm going, to Hawaii, or I'm doing this, and work's good, money's good, she does well, I do well, we're working our butts off, but there's all these things along the way that are just, when she says, hey, I'm going here in 2 weeks with my friends for 3 days, and I'm getting back from a trip with an empty house, and I'm and there's all these little things, and I feel like I'm getting wound up in my head, and I don't want to be that guy who's resentful or treats her poorly, or, where it's changing my everyday life. And I feel like I'm getting to that point.
Well,
so
your everyday life has been changed. And I would be willing to bet, I don't have a nice car, but I'd be willing to bet it that this is just a symptom of a bigger issue. Because she's created an alternative life that doesn't include you for whatever reason. Whether you hold her accountable, whether you're not safe, whether you always have some scheme or plan, or whether your rules and your whatever always trumps, she's created a world, or you're an anxious mess. Are you a high-strung guy? Are you anxious a lot?
I do pretty well with that. I'm not, but I will say, and I know you travel for work, and I'm raised by a single mom and not a close family, and so I can be a lonely guy and kind of line that up as well. And so, coming home to an empty house after being on the road, and
but that's not the issue. The issue here is y'all are co-managers of your household. Y'all aren't doing this thing together,
right?
And travel is but one thing that y'all do separately,
right? And we'll do trips together, but it's been a while, and that's kind of the other.
I know, but you're not hearing what I'm saying, dude. You're not hearing what I'm saying.
Okay.
Your marriage is running in parallel. You have two people living under the same house that are sharing the same name that have two completely different lives.
Right.
And this travel, her going out of town with her friends, her world that she has curated that doesn't include you, that's but a symptom of a marriage that's running on two side-by-side tracks, but is not working together.
Right.
And you can't control why she has created a world. What you can control is why she has excluded you from it.
Right.
Right? And so if I ask you, because she's not on the phone, if I ask you, why won't she travel with you? Why does she not like traveling with you? I can answer this from my house. My wife doesn't like to travel with me because I don't care about itineraries, because I just show up whenever. I hate getting to an airport more than an hour. I like to get to the airport just in time to get through TSA, just to get through and walk straight onto the plane while they're boarding. For her, she wants to be there 7 to 10 days before the flight actually leaves. She likes to spend the night in the airport. I'm just kidding, but she likes to be there so early. And then when we get to wherever we're going, I don't know, we'll find a hotel when we get to the town. That's how I roll. And that makes her feel unsafe, right? And uncared for. So that's why she doesn't like to travel with me. Why does your wife exclude you from joy?
Yeah, I don't know. We went to Cabo in January.
You know.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard. I'm the last couple of vacations, and I've asked her about it, have been good. But our sleep schedule's different. I'm older. I don't like to party like I used to. But we still I looked at it the last couple of times we vacationed, and we had a lot of fun.
I know, but you keep focusing on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
There is a bigger issue here, man.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe because I watch the pennies. Maybe because I'm jaded because I travel for work and it's hard to impress me. I don't.
The question you've got to ask your wife is, and really yourself, is beyond travel. You're stuck on this travel thing. When it comes to how the house feels when you get home and she's there, how the house feels when she gets home and you're there, to how y'all handle conflict, to what y'all like to, how you like to honor each other by how the other person likes entertainment, and I'm going to show up there, your sex and intimacy life. I'm telling you right now, something's off. Yeah. And you keep focusing on this travel. I'd be willing to bet if I talked to her, it would have nothing to do with travel. Travel is her way of escaping, getting away. Right. Living the life that she doesn't feel like she can live at home. Right. And it could be that she's a brat. And I don't want to talk bad about your wife, but it could be that you would like to have a budget and you don't like to spend money y'all don't have. And she's like, I'm not going to live like that, YOLO, whatever. That could be it. She could be very immature. Or you could be so constricting and hard to live with that she's had to create an alternative world. When I was an anxious mess, I was always seeing the end of time. I was always dealing with, okay, we're going to move our money here and this scheme here, and then we're going to do this. And then I remember sitting down in my backyard in West Texas with my wife, and I said, I feel like you've created a world that I don't live in. And she said, I've had to. And those words were one of the impetus for me to go get help.
Right.
Because I was a nuclear reactor. I was kind. I wasn't abusive. I didn't cheat. But man, I was electrified. And that's just me. I don't know what your thing is. You might be the opposite. You might be Eeyore and bring the whole house to, I don't know. But your wife has created another planet that you don't live on. And she doesn't want you living on it. She'll go with you on your rocket ship trips to Cabo. Cool, that's fine.
Right.
I think she likes you.
Yeah.
But there's something bigger going on, man.
Right. That's very interesting. I haven't looked at it like that. And yeah, that's interesting. So I appreciate that.
So here's if I'm you, here's what the way I would start. I would take her out somewhere nice. And I would say, hey, I want to talk about us. And I would say, I've been asking about travel, and she doesn't make you hurt. She doesn't hurt your feelings. You're allowing your feelings to be hurt. Okay. I'm going to use that language. This is all about me. I've decided to get my feelings hurt whenever you're gone. And when you create these travel plans without me, and when you don't want to go on my work trips, but then I started thinking, are there other places in our relationship where I'm not showing up, where we are running parallel lives? And I want to create a future where I can help meet your needs and you feel empowered to help meet my needs. And we're working together on this deal. And it becomes much less about, will you do this thing and go on this trip? And why can't I go? It's a much richer experience. I'll tell you this. When my wife is I've mentioned on the show, it's probably 4 or 5 months ago when I was struggling with my daughter, who was 6 at the time, and she's turned 7 since. And between my wife and Dr. Mate, Gabor Mate, really hammered home, what if I concentrated on being likable? Not on always being right, not on always lecturing, not on always trying to solve every problem or have my opinion heard on everything. But what if I focused on being likable, being fun, being funny, staying up a little too late sometimes, getting up a little too early sometimes, like spraying one of the kids with a hose when they get home, allowing them to spray me back when I'm least expected, whatever the thing is. What if I just did the dishes instead of making a checklist about it? And I tell you what, man, my whole house has changed. My marriage has changed. My relationship with my daughter and my son have changed. Everything is different now because I'm working hard not to be right, not to win, not to make sure every T is crossed and every I is dotted, but to be likable, to be a joyful person. And it's just ricocheted through my life. So sit down with your wife and talk about the state of your marriage. Let her speak and don't try to correct her. This isn't something you're going to solve in one meeting. But ask her, am I hard to be around? Am I hard to travel with? Have you had to create another alternative world, alternative universe that I'm not a part of because I'm tough to be around? Start that way. Let her speak and let her be open with you. It might be a really hard season coming up. But man, if you get through this and get to the other side of it, y'all can create something amazing where y'all are in tandem and you're working together. And then you can take all the vacations you want, man. But you got to heal from the inside out on this one.